Dr. Ethan Miller had grown used to the graveyard shift. For the past year, he'd been working nights at St. Mary's Hospital in Massachusetts, a crumbling, underfunded medical center clinging to outdated systems and overworked staff like most young residents. Ethan lived on caffeine, power naps, and instinct. He'd forgotten what real rest felt like, but exhaustion wasn't the part that unsettled him. It was the growing feeling that something in the hospital wasn't quite right. It started with a small glitch in the system 3 nights in a row. A new patient admission was logged into room 913, located in Ward 9, which had been shut down nearly a year ago. Due to a fire, the blaze hadn't injured anyone, but the damage was significant. Parts of the ceiling had collapsed, wiring was exposed, and the east wing, where room 913 sat, had been deemed unsafe and sealed off. Still, the entries kept showing up. Room 913? That wing's closed, Ethan muttered during one of his shifts. Frowning at the admission screen, the charge nurse glanced over and shrugged. Yeah, just a system bug. IT's working on it. Happens sometimes when they patch the servers, but Ethan didn't buy it. The timestamps were always the same, between 1:30 a.m. and 1:40 a.m., and the entries were eerily precise. Room 913. Patient X status, under observation, no name, no age, no diagnosis, just that every single time Ethan tried brushing it off, nurses whispered all kinds of strange things about hospitals. Some even joked about haunted floors or cursed beds. But even in that context, this felt wrong. Not supernatural, just wrong. On the 4th night, he decided to check it out. He waited until after 1 a.m., when the EI quieted down, and snuck toward the old service elevator, the only one that still had access to the lower east wing. He hesitated before tapping his hospital key card. To his surprise, the elevator accepted. The button for the basement lit up. This should have been disabled, he whispered to himself. The elevator creaked its way down. The lights inside flickered. When the doors opened, a wave of stale, cold air hit him, heavy with the scent of mildew, burned plaster, and antiseptic that hadn't been used in months. The hallway was dimly lit. Emergency lights cast everything in a dull red hue. Pipes hung from the ceiling like exposed bones. Debris littered the floor. Sections were taped off. Though the tape was peeling and forgotten, he moved slowly, the echo of his footsteps far too loud in the silence. Then he saw it, room 913. The door was half open, inside a bed, made with military precision, a chair beside it, no dust, no debris. A clipboard rested neatly on the bed. He stepped in. There was no patient, no equipment, just that clipboard with faded lettering. Patient X, status, under observation, no date, no doctor's signature, no vital signs, only one handwritten note. Do not disturb. Between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. Ethan chuckled nervously. Okay, weird joke, he muttered. Setting it back down, he left quickly, trying not to let his imagination run wild. Maybe it was a leftover prank. Maybe a nurse who worked down here before, the fire had left it as a joke. Hospitals had long memories, old traditions, and in-jokes often lingered years after people forgot their origins, but he couldn't shake it. Back at his desk, he stared at the time, 1:57 a.m. At 2:01 a.m., his hospital phone buzzed. Unknown number. Ethan, leave now? He froze. A chill ran up his spine. He checked around. Nobody had touched his phone. No one nearby seemed to be pranking him. His heart pounded. He went home early that morning, unable to concentrate over the next 2 days. Things got worse. He started seeing movement in the East Hall, on the security monitors, blurry shapes, quick footsteps, people in gowns passing through. Sealed doors. The IT staff blamed camera lag. He heard pages over the intercom that no one else had sent. Patient X, room 913, always between 1:30 and 3 a.m. When he asked about it, staff just shook their heads. He brought it up to Dr. Adler, his supervising physician. Ethan, you're clearly overworked. You haven't had a day off in, 12 days? You're seeing patterns because your brain is tired. She wasn't wrong, but something in Ethan's gut wouldn't let him rest. On the 5th night, he went back. 1:47 a.m. The same elevator, same flickering lights, same wave of cold as he stepped out. The hallway was even darker this time. The red emergency lights pulsed dimly. Room 913 was wide open now. He stepped in. Everything was just as before, except this time the chair was pulled close to the bed. A new clipboard sat on the seat. In the same uneven handwriting. You shouldn't have come back. He backed out, startled. That's when he heard it. A shuffle of movement, a slow dragging sound, footsteps. Not far down the hall. He turned, but no one was there. His phone buzzed again. Unknown number. You were warned. He ran, didn't stop until he was back in the ER. Trembling, they found him 3 hours later. Security footage showed Ethan walking toward room 913 at 1:47 a.m. At 1:51, the hallway camera glitched, cutting to static. When it came back online 5 minutes later, he was gone. The next time anyone saw him, he was found sitting silently inside room 913, scalpel in hand. No wounds, no blood, just scratching into the wall above the bed. She never left. He wouldn't speak, wouldn't blink. They admitted him to the psychiatric ward, and days later, he was transferred to a long-term mental health facility in New Hampshire. He stopped responding to family, stopped eating unless sedated, but at exactly 2 a.m. every night, he woke up screaming, like clockwork. When one of the night nurses asked what he saw, he whispered only, "I thought it was empty." 6 months later, a new resident, Dr. Leah Morgan, was assigned Ethan's old desk. She never met him. Most staff had stopped talking about what happened, brushed it off as a nervous breakdown. One night, while updating patient logs, Leah noticed something strange. Room 913, patient X, status, under observation, the time stub, 1:36 a.m. She turned to ask the night nurse about it, but paused. A folder had been placed on her desk while she wasn't looking. No one was nearby. She opened it. The front read, Patient X, and on the last page, scrawled in shaky pen, Do not disturb, between 2 o'clock and 3 a.m. Ava Carter had just started her new overnight job at Ridgefield Memorial Hospital, a quiet facility tucked away in northern Ohio. She wasn't a nurse or medical tech, just an inventory assistant for the pharmacy department. At 26, she kept her head down, paid her bills on time, and didn't ask too many questions. This job, however dull, was stable, and she liked the night shift. No crowds, no awkward coworker small talk, just silence, fluorescent lights, and clipboards. Her job was simple. Check stock in the basement medication storage, log expired drugs, and ensure everything was sorted by 4 a.m. Every 3 nights. She'd make rounds to room B2, a restricted access section, where higher-risk medications were once stored. It hadn't been used regularly in years. Most staff avoided the basement altogether, not out of fear, just habit. The elevator creaked like it was held together. With duct tape, the air always felt damp, and the place smelled faintly of mold and antiseptic. No one liked it, but Ava didn't mind. It was peaceful in its own way until the night of October 28th. It was 12:26 a.m. when Ava stepped off the elevator onto the basement floor. The usual hum of distant machinery echoed down the tiled hall. Her sneakers squeaked slightly with every step. She headed toward room B2 with her clipboard in hand. The door was slightly ajar. That immediately set off a flag. Room B2 was always locked. She double-checked her log. No other employee had access scheduled tonight. She hesitated, staring at the cracked door. It could have been left open earlier, or forced. Probably just maintenance, she muttered. She pushed it open and stepped inside. The room was darker than usual. Only half the fluorescent lights were functioning. Refrigerators lined the walls, humming louder than she remembered. The far corner shelves were cluttered with older bins and broken plastic crates that should have been thrown out months ago. That's when she saw it, a large cardboard box sitting in the middle of the floor, dented, labeled with a faded sticker, for disposal, 2007. Ava blinked. That didn't make sense. Inventory was cleared every year, especially for restricted meds. A 17-year-old box shouldn't even exist in this room. She crouched down and opened it. Inside were vials, dozens of them, glass containers with no official label, only red handwritten codes and cryptic symbols, a circle with a line through it, scratched into the side. Some were filled with a cloudy yellow fluid. Others had a thick black liquid that barely moved. She picked one up. It was cold, despite not being refrigerated. No smell, no lot number, nothing. Suddenly, the overhead lights clicked off. Total darkness. Ava froze, then footsteps, slow, deliberate, coming from the opposite side of the room. "Hello?" she said. her voice trembling. No response. She fumbled for her phone flashlight, hand shaking. When it turned on, the aisle was empty. But the box, it was now closed. She hadn't touched it. She stepped back instinctively. Her foot hit something. Metal. A loud clang echoed as a tray hit the floor behind her. She spun around, light darting across the shelves. Nothing. She turned back toward the box, but it was gone. The spot where it sat was empty. Ava's breathing quickened. She rushed out, not even locking the door behind her. The next morning, she reported everything to Greg Turner, the pharmacy supervisor. A man in his late 40s, who always seemed annoyed at being alive. "There's no box like that down there," he said, flipping through her clipboard. "We don't store anything past expiration, especially not from 2007. You probably saw mislabeled." "Return package," Ava insisted. She even dragged Greg down with her to room B2. It looked normal. No box, no vials, no strange liquid, just rows of neatly labeled shelves and the smell of stale air. But Greg frowned as he looked up. The security camera above the door had been tempered, with its casing was cracked open, and the wires had been snipped cleanly. He didn't say much after that, just mumbled about filing a maintenance report, and walked off 2 nights later. Inventory was quiet again. No strange boxes, no missing items, but something gnawed at Ava. She kept replaying the night in her head, wondering if she'd imagined the whole thing sleep deprivation, paranoia. Then she heard about Theo, another inventory tech who called out sick with migraines and nausea. He'd only just started basement rotation. Days later, another worker, Maria, took emergency leave with double vision and fainting. Spells neither had any known conditions before. Ava's concern grew. She began digging through Ridgefield's digital archives. The hospital had been around since the 70s, restructured, expanded, rebranded, but one detail caught her eye. In 2007, Ridgefield had partnered with a pharmaceutical company called Arisen Biotech. The deal was brief, lasting only 9 months, and then abruptly ended. There was no press release, no reason given, but she found a buried court document through a legal journal. A sealed settlement involving undisclosed trials conducted without full participant consent. The name of the facility used for storage? Room B2. Ava's heart dropped. 1 week later, she came in for her usual shift. On November 12th, that was the last time anyone saw her. Her car was found in the hospital parking lot at 7:45 a.m. Inside her coat, badge, phone untouched, her basement. Keycard was logged at 12:41 a.m., but there was no scan-out. Police reviewed hallway footage. She's seen walking toward the elevator, alone descending to the basement. Then, at 1:09 a.m., the hallway camera outside room B2 cut out. It stayed black for nearly 14 minutes. When it returned, Ava was gone. Emergency responders searched every inch of the basement. Room B2 was locked from the inside. When forced open, it looked clean. Too clean. The shelves were bare. No medications, no boxes. But in the back corner, the old logbook sat open on a metal stool. The last entry, written in Ava's unmistakable, Handwriting said, "There was a second box. I think someone's still down here. Now, room B2 has remained closed off since." The hospital labeled the event a staff disappearance under investigation. But Ridgefield never issued a public statement. Ava's family received a basic letter of condolence and a severance payout. Behind closed doors, rumors circulate. Some staff say they hear beeping from behind the locked door, as if one of the fridges still runs. Others claim to have seen Ava, or someone like her, walking the basement halls at night. Security no longer patrols there. One guard quit after saying he found a black vial in his locker, with no name, no label, only that saying. Symbol Ava described, a circle with a line through it. An anonymous staff member, believed to be a former maintenance technician, later posted to a defunct hospital forum. The company they worked with, Arisen, wasn't testing medicine. They were testing something behavioral, experimental suppression. Drugs, microdoses that altered memory, fear response, perception, stuff that never made it to FDA trials. The basement wasn't just storage. It was part of the experiment, and not everyone left it. No one ever confirmed the identity of the poster. No one has heard from Ava Carter again, but every few months, at exactly 12:41 a.m., the access panel to room B2 shows a scan-in, no badge ID, just a blank entry. The hospital's IT team says it's a system glitch, just like everything else.